You know, I never get tired of that. I don't know if you guys get tired of that. I never get tired of that music because I like it. It just like gets me pumped up. I don't really need to be pumped up because I'm already pumped up. Whenever I get to be with you guys on Sunday night for the BattleCry, I love it. I'm Mark Meckler. This is the Sunday Night BattleCry. I am the president of Convention and States Action, coming to you live from the library, my favorite place to be. Almost, I'd rather be out there with you in the real world, but if I can't be there, happy to be home with the dogs, Gideon and Levi, here in the library, talking politics with you. And is there a better time to talk politics than 9 days before the most important presidential election of your lifetimes? And not just presidential. Let's not forget that the Senate's important, the House is important, local and state legislative elections, and if you've got them, governor's elections, really important, all of them. Okay, so that means first and foremost, we're going to end with this: vote. Like, if you are voting early, vote early. Patty and I have been debating whether we're going to vote early or not, and the kids, there's something about going on election day. I don't even mind if the lines are long, standing in line for an hour or more. There's something exciting about doing that with your fellow citizens. I mean, that is part of the exercise of citizenship. So we may wait. We haven't decided for sure. We may go early. I don't know. I'll let you know next week. What this week was all about, this last week, was the debate, right? The debate was, what'd you think? I thought it was amazing. There's so many things that were amazing about that debate. Number one is Trump showed up ready for the game. Like, seriously, had his game face on. He had trained up. He was ready to go. You know, sometimes you get good Trump, bad Trump, wild, out of control Trump, focused, in control Trump. I think you had focused, in control Trump for this debate. I think the most interesting thing to me about the entire debate, something that absolutely fascinated me, I don't know if you noticed this, I haven't seen anybody else mention it, Trump was taking notes. While Joe Biden was speaking, Trump was actually looking down, taking notes. I've never seen him do that in any context before. And maybe he's done it, but I haven't seen it. I haven't noticed it. Normally, someone like Trump, who is so super confident, they don't think they need notes. They don't think they need to take those notes down mid-debate. But what it does is it forces you to pay attention. It focuses your mind. It reminds you where to come back, where you are weak, where to attack. It's a really important technique of a good debater. Otherwise, you forget those vulnerabilities that your opponent leaves you. And man, he took advantage of them. I think because he was taking notes, I think because he was more prepared, I think he took this one way more seriously. He also came across as much more polite and serious and presidential. I think he had a pretty high bar to cross after his disastrous performance in the last debate, but I think he cleared it, and I think he cleared it easily. Generally speaking, I thought Joe Biden looked okay for the first half of the debate. I don't think there were any major gaffes, but man, he started to slide into oblivion in the second half of the debate. The thing that amazed me the most, Joe Biden generally in the second half, he was pissed off, like face red, kind of veins popping out, lots of come on, mans, and just really couldn't comport himself with any kind of composure, any kind of presidential demeanor. Every answer was yelling. It was a really pretty out of control performance for Joe Biden towards the end. I think he was probably fatigued. He's not like the president. He can't go long stretches, 90 minutes, I think, of trying to think and stay focused. Probably the methamphetamines that they injected him with right before the event wore off. And by the way, I'm only saying that half facetiously. I don't mean to start a conspiracy theory, but I don't know how he's so pumped up for these debates and he's so dead mostly when you see him. It's like Weekend at Biden's. I don't know if you guys saw that video. Somebody put out a video, Weekend at Biden's. It was a play on the movie Weekend at Bernie's, and they're dragging him around. He's basically a corpse. That's kind of what it seems like. Today, by the way, his campaign called a lid at 11:30. For real, called a lid, meaning they shut off campaigning at 11:30 today. That's incredible. 9 days before an election. Trump is doing 2, 3, 4 of these rallies a day where he goes out and he speaks for an hour or 90 minutes. I mean, it's just incredible, man, stamina. Biden looks like the exact opposite. He's napping in the basement. Unbelievable. All right, let's go back to the debate. During the debate, I think there were a couple of really critical moments. One of the moments that was really important, I think, and it's going to be important in some of the swing states like Pennsylvania or Michigan, and even Texas, where we're fighting for the House here. This is what he said. He said that it was going to end the oil industry, right? He said the thing out loud that he normally keeps in his head. It slipped out. Producer G, you got the tape of that?
Final
Would he
question.
close
It
down
falls-
the oil industry?
It falls.
Would you close down the oil
falls-
industry?
By the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's a big
transition.
statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a big
because
statement.
I would stop
Why would you do that?
because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
Here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do
statement.
that. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy.
What? Wow. That's something that Biden's been avoiding saying in his campaigns, like in the upper Midwest and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and states like this, the Rust Belt states, saying you're going to shut down the oil industry. Man, I can tell you that's going to turn out conservative voters. It's going to turn voters who might have been on the margin, might be Democrats, but they're working class Democrats. It's going to turn them out. It's going to turn out voters all over the country, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, where I live. I mean, that's a big deal. And Trump caught it. Did you know that Trump's right all over that? He said, wow, that's a big statement. And then Biden just seems flat-footed. He says, well, yeah, it is a big statement. Why are you going to do that? Oh, because it pollutes. I mean, this is bad rhetoric when you're trying to capture the middle of America. He really needs to capture the Rust Belt to win. I think he damaged that cause really severely. I mean, that's not the only place he did it, right? So he got caught in this lie, which he tells. He said previously, multiple occasions on tape, he's going to ban fracking. And he tried to say, I've never said I'm going to ban fracking. Hey, we got the tape. Go ahead, Producer G.
And what about fracking?
All right,
Now
let
we
me
ask him
allow
about fracking.
Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of them.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
You said it on tape.
I did show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'm talking about stopping fracking as soon as we possibly can. No ifs, buts, and maybes about it. I'm talking about speaking to China. Well, I'm not sure your proposal does that.
I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate.
Yeah, so I'm going to ban fracking. I'm not going to ban fracking. I am. I'm not. I might. I am. Yeah. He said it on tape. And Trump caught him like right there, pants down, a hand in the cookie jar, whatever metaphor you want to use. He has said he's going to ban fracking. I mean, he just said it to that woman shaking her hand. I am going to ban fracking. He said to Bernie Sanders, he's going to ban fracking. I mean, he just got caught bald-faced, straight up, look at the camera and lie to the American people. And again, in these Rust Belt states, that is not going to play well. It's not how he needed to finish the campaign. I think that is a major, major gaffe. Campaign, and it stings, and it's out there. And I can tell you, looking at these states, and I'm out there helping to work on Get Out the Vote in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and I can tell you that hurt Joe Biden, really helped Donald Trump. The thing I liked about Trump's performance is he was watching for those moments. He jumped on those moments. In the last debate, he interrupted Biden during those moments. Here, he pulled that out of him. He made him continue to say those things, and I think that was really important. Another place where Trump, I think, big was on the COVID shutdowns. I think he played COVID pretty well, generally did a pretty good job dealing with COVID and Biden's false attacks on COVID. He did a pretty good job of it generally, but where he really won the day on that is time to send our kids back to school. Look, again, I'm doing Get Out the Vote all over the country. Texas, Kansas, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Montana, all over the country. And one of the things that I'm hearing is, open the damn schools. Like, parents are suffering. If you're working parents, if you're working class parents, your kids need to be in school. Otherwise, you can't work. If you've got a job and the shutdowns haven't taken away your job, they have, you're pissed off about that. But if they haven't taken away your job, what are you doing with kids? You got 7, 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old kids who can't go to school. And Trump pushed him on it. And Biden waffled. Maybe I'll do shutdowns. I'm not always talking about shutdowns. And Trump just kept hammering. All you talk about is shutdown, 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 shutdown. I'm telling you, this is playing really well. There's only one thing that suburban moms dislike more than Trump's demeanor? Having their schools shut down. They're suffering. Families are suffering. Kids are falling behind. There are a bunch of moms and dads trying to work, trying to juggle family, trying to juggle teaching kids now. They don't feel competent to teach their kids. These are not parents who signed up to teach their kids. Look, I think it's great if parents teach their kids. Huge advocate of homeschooling here. I love homeschoolers, but some parents aren't ready to do it. They don't have their life structured in such a way that they can do it. And parents are frustrated and struggling. And I think Trump hit that really, really hard. He made Biden eat those shutdowns. I think that's really good. Another place where I thought Trump hit hard, appropriately, maybe a little bit over the top, was on the Hunter Biden scandals. Look, I always like to play it straight. I'm going to say where Trump said things that aren't true or exaggerated. He said that Joe Biden got $3.5 million, the mayor of Moscow, from his wife. Look, there's no evidence of that. There is clear, hard evidence that Hunter Biden got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Lord knows for what. Talk about Russian collusion, Russian influence peddling, maybe a Russian. Hunter Biden looks a lot like a Russian asset, probably a Ukrainian asset, probably a Chinese asset, highly, highly compromised, really dangerous figure to have this close to the vice president once and now potentially the president of the United States. And it does look like there's potentially some evidence that Joe Biden was somehow involved in this or knew about it. You got to believe he knew about it. And he hammered Joe Biden on this. And I think Joe Biden really struggled. I think the most important moment of the debate, and these are kind of, debates are made of moments, not of the whole debate. I think the most important moment of the debate is when Joe Biden is pushed on the ropes about his son and his son's scandals and all this stuff. And he turns and looks at the camera and says, let's not talk about China anymore. Let's talk about your family. Let's talk about sitting around the kitchen table, blah, 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 blah. And Trump just nailed him to the wall. Literally nailed him to the wall with a pneumatic nail gun all the way around. He just said, look, you're a politician. All you're doing is basically BSing the American people, blah, blah, blah. You change the subject. We're talking about China, China's influence over you, over your family, all the money you're getting from China, and you just try to change the subject, and the American people aren't buying it. I think he nailed him. He nailed him hard. These kinds of moments are really important when they happen. Happened to Marco Rubio. Chris Christie nailed Marco Rubio to the wall on something like this when Rubio was just repeating talking points over and over. He just nailed him. And I don't think Rubio ever recovered from it. So I think that was a really serious blow to Joe Biden. So looking at the whole debate, I would say it's Trump. Trump runs away with that debate. He had to perform well. He's a guy who is a good finisher. He performed well at the finish there. I think he did a great job in the debate. I think the takeaway is, seemed like he was a lot nicer guy. He was a lot more patient. He was paying attention, a lot more fair, let Biden have enough rope to hang himself, and then tugged on the rope. So I got to say, kudos to the president. Okay, let's move on to what's coming next. What's coming next is tomorrow, big day for conservatives, and that is the notorious ACB is going to be confirmed, I think, by tomorrow night to the United States Supreme Court. That is an incredible thing, changes the complexion of the court, makes it 5-4 solid, pretty solid conservative, 6-3 occasional conservative. I think you're going to see a lot more stuff. I actually think you're going to see the Chief Justice Roberts become a little bit more conservative. He'll sign on with the majority because he'll know his vote isn't going to make a difference in a bunch of these cases, and he'll prefer to have them 6-3. So I think ACB gets confirmed tomorrow night. It might be Tuesday, but looks like by 7 o'clock tomorrow night. They probably hold the vote at 7. She's confirmed by the time you go to bed tomorrow night. God bless the United States of America, because that is a great confirmation. I think she's going to be a great jurist. Everybody who knows her says so. Her written record is pretty darn good. I don't think she's going to be one of these stealth moderates or stealth liberals. So I think we got a solid originalist on the court, and that is a darn good thing. So I think that's portends well for the country and the court. That's exciting. All right. In other big news, not exciting, although important, social media censorship is now out of the closet, in the open, and not only in the open, but they are essentially proud of their censorship. You have the biggest story of this election cycle, the Post, the New York Post, reporting on the Hunter Biden scandal. Incredible scandal, right? And very well sourced. They have the laptop. They know the provenance of the laptop. You have people who confirm the validity, the provenance of the emails, and it's censored. Censored by Facebook, censored by Twitter. The Twitter account of your post is still under lockdown. I mean, this is just straight up censorship. And I actually think this is a test balloon. If they're doing this right now with a Republican in the White House, with a Republican Senate, can you imagine what the censorship will be like if we have a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate? It will be full-blown 100% totalitarian censorship. What you're talking about is Twitter as Pravda, Facebook as Pravda, all these leftist organizations censoring you and your free speech. So that means you need to be on Rumble instead of YouTube. You need to be on Parler, Parler.com instead of Twitter. We've got to build up these alternative platforms so we won't get censored. Super important that we're able to communicate. You go to these platforms, go to markmeckler.com and sign up on Locals so that I can communicate directly with you. We won't be censored because it's out in the open. It's going to get ugly. You know, one of the things I'm wondering is there an online way for folks who would like to overload Twitter's servers or something like that? Some kind of, large spread distributed denial of service attack. I understand that doing that in a secretive way is illegal, but what if everybody just did legal operations over and over to Twitter? Would that do something to their servers? Is there a way that we can fight back? Those of you who are techies who might understand a way that we can legally fight back Twitter and Facebook, let me know. Let's see if there's something we can do. All right. Moving right along. This is really interesting to me. More Joe Biden in the news. He's always saying crazy things, stupid things. The things out loud that are in his head seem to come out. We call these, instead of Freudian slips, they're Bidenian slips. So Producer G has the latest and greatest. I think this was yesterday.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Yeah, out loud. Most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. Joe Biden doesn't often tell the truth, but seems to me he was telling the truth there. Like a lot of places, we're already seeing a lot of fraud, a lot of room for fraud. This thing is going to be a mess. If you don't think it's going to be a mess, you're not paying attention. The Democrats intend for this election to be a mess because what they want to do is they want to be able to blur the results. Right now, looking at what I'm looking at, I think Trump wins. That's my opinion right now. But I think the Democrats are going to play the fraud card. They're going to play just the confusion, the chaos card. Be very careful. Be watching for all this stuff. All right, so Biden admits it. Let's go to the states. Let's talk about what's going on in the states out there. I think this is really important stuff. And I'm going to do sort of a survey. A lot of you guys know that we work with Robert Cahaley, the Trafalgar Group, the most accurate pollster from 2016, 2018. He's the only guy that called Ron DeSantis for governor of Florida when nobody else saw it. The guy just knows his stuff. He is a fantastic pollster. We've worked with him in a variety of states around the country to help us develop grassroots strategy, to know how to poll people, to know how to get people out and get people involved. He's just great at this stuff. So I talk to Robert pretty much every day. You know who quoted Robert yesterday? Oh, the president. Getting off of Air Force One, he said, people are asking about the polls. He said, you might want to look at Trafalgar Group because he says I'm doing pretty well. Right. And so he called out Trafalgar Group. You know who else is talking to Trafalgar Group? How about Hannity? How about Daniel Shapiro, Daniel Horowitz? How about Dan Bongino show? How about he was on Fox and Friends? How about Ingram Angle? How about he's going to be on Fox and Friends tomorrow morning? How about Karl Rove and Juan Williams talking about him? How about Rush Limbaugh talking about him? How about him on the Blade? I mean, literally everybody is talking about Cahaley. And I'm really proud to call him a friend, somebody that Patty and I work with literally on a daily basis. We've been working with him for years because we know who he is. We know he is the most accurate guy. Why is he so accurate? Is he just different than everybody else? Is he off his rocker? Here's the reason why. He understands how to get at what are called the shy voters. Look, there's a social pressure thing that happens no matter what when you talk to a pollster. Like, people feel like maybe I don't want to tell the truth because this person might judge me. This person might feel like I'm crazy. This person might think I'm a racist, whatever it is. People don't tell the truth to pollsters. And so Haley's figured a series of questions about how to get behind what people are telling pollsters. You hear a lot of people using this thing called the neighbor question now. Somebody says, I'm not voting for Trump. You say, who do you think your neighbors are voting for? And likely if somebody says, well, I think the majority of my neighbors are voting for Trump, they're probably voting for Trump. That was, by the way, invented by Robert Cahaly in 2016. He uses much more sophisticated methods now. We can't reveal those. They're proprietary because the other polling firms have copied some of his methods. He knows how to go deeper, how to get more nuanced, and how to find those shy voters who want to tell you who they're really looking for. So let me tell you kind of what we're looking at. I'm going to look at some notes here. I don't have all this memorized, but I want to some of the swing states. Let's start with Pennsylvania. Right now, the last time that Cahaly pulled Pennsylvania, it was Biden up by 1.5. But there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in Pennsylvania. In Philadelphia, that's where you've got the best voter fraud machine in the nation together, as Biden said, by himself and his cronies. So I think Trump has to win Pennsylvania by 4 in order to outstrip the voter fraud that's going to take place in Philly. I think it's viable, but I think it's that's going to be a really tight one. Pennsylvania is really rough. Working there on get out the vote. Minnesota, last time we looked at it, it was about even. I think Trump might be up by 1 at this point. Kaylee's going to have a poll coming out on that soon. We're working there also. Wisconsin, Biden, last polling, Biden up by 1. I think we're going to see that swing this week. We should have new polling on that by Florida. Was Trump up by 2? I think he's up by more than that in Florida. I just don't think Florida's that close. I think Florida goes Trump. A lot of people look at Ohio, a swing state, not a swing state. Ohio's going to Trump. I think it's Trump +4 right now. North Carolina, we've got an issue in North Carolina. Everything's really tight. Right now it looks like Trump up by 1.5. Tillis barely up there against Cunningham. That's a close Senate race. It shouldn't be so close. Cunningham involved in a big sexual scandal in the final weeks here. I think I'm going to predict North Carolina goes Trump and Tillis pulls that one out. In Arizona, we got Trump up by 4, but you've got trouble with Mark Kelly versus Martha McSally. McSally's down by a few last we looked, although she was closing. Latest poll I saw showed her within 1 or maybe up by 1. I'm a little skeptical of that. I don't know who did it. I don't know if they have a bias, if they were hired by her campaign or somebody. But that race is tightening. If Trump really pulls it out and gets a surge, I think he could pull McSally across the line. Montana Senate, right now, it looks like Daines is up by 1. That's close. That could go either way. I think ultimately Daines pulls it out. Montana's for Trump. That's the way it goes. The Iowa Senate, Joni Ernst. I just don't think Joni Ernst can lose. I'm not worried about it. People are worried about it. I hear people talk about it. I think that goes Joni Ernst. I think the wild card here, really interestingly, is Nevada. I think Nevada could go for the president. Here's why. Nevada is a union state. The unions in Clark County really decide the election usually. But what's going on is the unions to break for Trump. Why is that? That's because unions are running out of money to pay them, to pay their medical expenses. Now remember, these businesses are not running at all. And what that means is they got no money. The unions got no union dues. And so a lot of the union members, they're sick and tired of the shutdown. Vegas, Clark County, completely shut down. Vegas could be the surprise. So if Trump wins the Sun Belt states, by that I mean if he wins Florida, which he's going to win. If he wins North Carolina, I think he wins. South Carolina, I think he wins there. If he wins those states, then the question is, what's he do in the Rust Belt? And what I think he has to do is he has to win. If he wins Michigan and Pennsylvania, he wins. Michigan and Wisconsin, I think he wins. Maybe throw Minnesota in there. Nevada's kind of the wild card. If he wins Nevada, he can lose one of those others. It's going to be relatively tight. Cahaly's right now calling Trump to win in the high 270s, maybe even into the 280s. It's crazy out there right now. Guys, I might run over by a couple minutes and go to your questions if you guys don't mind. I want to talk a little bit about the African-American vote. African-American vote is going crazy for Trump right now. In the last week, it's gone from 21% support for Trump to 46% support. This is according to Rasmussen. I think Cahaly would agree with that. Very, very interesting numbers out there. Hispanic numbers are showing Hispanics north of 35% for Trump. This is historic, even above 50% in states like Florida and Arizona. If you go to Florida, go to Little Havana, look at the Venezuelans that are there, huge Venezuelan community. There's anti-Biden graffiti out comparing him to like Hugo Chavez or Castro, comparing Biden. So I think we're going to see a huge Hispanic turnout for Trump. All right, so that's kind of my view of the election. It's a little bit crazy out there. Nobody can really predict, but, you know, it's my best attempt to predict. So let's go over to Q&A before we close it out today. Let me open this up. Producer G's got some of your questions here for me. Sharon Carell says, I saw a map that showed Texas as iffy for Trump. What do you think? Yeah, no. That's crazy, Sharon. It's going for Trump. I'm worried we're not going to have a big enough margin. I do worry about the House of Representatives in the state here in Texas. So get out the vote. Help others get out the vote. We got to get out the vote. We got to be doing poll watching. But I'm going to say Texas safely in the bag for Trump. Shirley Meyer says, with the electric cars and power stations across the country, Biden think we power them? Yeah, Shirley, this is the stupidity of the environmental movement. Like, you got to have power plants to get electricity to the power stations. So it's clean, quote unquote. You have to use, so you either use one of two things, coal-fired power plants, right? Or you have to frack for natural gas. So you can use natural gas-fired power plants. But environmentalists don't live in reality. Brenda Barixa says, where's the DOJ? Brenda, I don't know. This is one of my greatest disappointments. It's really incredible what's going on out there. We never see anybody punished for the misdeeds. What I hope is that President Trump, in a second term, unchained, to really push the DOJ to fire the people he needs to fire. I think if he's elected to do a second term, we're going to see some prosecutions. Bess Burkhardt says, when the convention of states is set, do we have to go through the whole process again for another one? Will it be easier next time? Yeah, I mean, to do another convention of states, we'd have to go through the process again and get 34. By the way, this is a big one right now. In the convention of states, we can propose an amendment to limit the Supreme Court to 9 justices. That seems like a good idea to me, especially the way the left is going. I think that's really probably would have mostly bipartisan support. 9 justices. Let's limit it to 9. Jim Walker says, is Michigan still planning to vote on COS? The answer is yeah. Yeah, I think we're looking good for before the end of the year. Darren Crane says, when is the podcast coming out? Darren, I'm working on it, trying to get that done by the beginning of the year. Had to get through the elections. Things are too crazy right now. John Spina says, why is nobody talking about Biden's anti-gun proposals? You know, it's interesting, John. Biden has shut up about his anti-gun proposals, which is incredible. You know, this Anytown USA, Bloomberg Group, these guys have stopped spending money on anti-gun ads. It's not playing anymore because millions and millions of new gun owners, millions and millions of new Second Amendment supporters, when you see rioting in the streets, people buy guns, even people who've never owned guns before. So the anti-gun thing doesn't play anymore. Biden's not pitching it. That's why people aren't talking about it. Beverly Van Wagner says, can't Trump just clean up all these riots without the governor's or mayor's permission? I don't get it. You know, generally speaking, no, Beverly. The states have a police power, that's called. It doesn't mean police and cops, but it's a broader power to take actions in their own states. Now, there are ways under the Insurrection Act that the president can do this. I think it's better that he doesn't. I mean, for me, I can tell you for sure, I believe in federalism. I want the states to handle the stuff the way they want to. And look, if Washington State wants the state to burn down, Seattle to burn down, if they want the Chaz chop, if Portland wants to turn over part of their downtown to the radicals on the left, you know, I think it's up to the citizens of Portland, up to the citizens of Oregon to do something about that. If it endangers the safety and security of the United States more broadly, I think the president should get involved. Other than that, I kind of prefer that he doesn't. Randall Mal says, can we get Nancy Pelosi out of office this year? Nope. Because her constituents aren't going to unelect her. She will die in that chair, in her office in Washington, D.C. I see no chance of getting her out unless she dies in office. Wilson said, who do we keep the voter for? I think she means, how do we keep the voter fraud and cheating down? Look, I think the biggest thing you can do, you personally serve as a poll watcher. Call the party that you're affiliated with and tell them you'd like a poll watcher. Get out there, volunteer, do your part, and serve as a poll watcher. So we've got 9 days to go to the election. It's the home stretch. I'm going to tell you, I won't be sleeping much. What we're working to do is get out the vote. We appreciate your help getting out the vote. Look, if you're engaged in Convention of States, you can volunteer to just get out the vote. If you're part of our Citizen Builder platform and you've engaged and you want to volunteer, we need more people to text, more people to call. We're doing peer-to-peer contact. We're working Michigan, Pennsylvania, Texas, Kansas. We're all over the country. Any place that there's trouble, our activists are going to be there calling and texting and working peer-to-peer to get out the vote. If you're in Citizen Builder, you know what I mean. If you've already volunteered for Convention of States, get involved. Help us get out the vote. God bless you guys. Be praying for the safety and the security and the future of this country. I know I am. I'll be praying.